SteelSeries slap this badge on most of their mice boxes. For me personally, they've been in a bit of a freefall in comparison to their glory days when they used to be held in high regard. Will this be a return to those days? So this mouse is 125mm long, 59mm wide and 42mm tall and weighs a chunky 80 grams for this day and age. What do I think of the weight? Well, you're going to have to wait until I tell you my verdict at the end. You get a USB-C cable, a Type-C dongle and an extension adapter as well included. The shape here is a more ergonomic focused design, and I have to say I really love the shape. I think it's perfect for my palm grip that at times is a bit too strong, as if mice are the only thing that loves me these days. The right side is great as you get a nice area for your ring and pinky to rest. The buttons here also don't hang over the sides. They've curved this part off so there's no risk of rubbing against your fingers. This mouse is also for alternative grip types as well, with claw and fingertip being both very comfortable. When you flip this mouse you can see clearly there's an angular design at the bottom, however this doesn't really affect the top side. The whole base really fits comfortably against my palm. Something that is also brilliant is the coating. It's a nice matte texture that from my experience is probably the most comfortable coating that I have touched. They call it a premium ABS polycarbonate and a VD130 or I30 tactile micro texture body? During longer gaming sessions I've had no issues at all. I felt like I've never had to adjust my grip with the combination of coating and shape. To be very open, I am a very sweaty gamer, so most of the time I find that I might have to give my hands a wash every so often, or get some air to the palms. Here there's been hardly any of that. It's been absolutely brilliant. The switches here are very interesting as well, as they are using their own Prestige OM switches. It uses an optical sensor, spring and a magnetic connection to guarantee zero lag, debounce and a lifetime of consistently crispy clicks. I have seen a few people mention how they feel that these clicks are heavy, and as a result they're a lot slower with them when tap shooting in CSGO or Valorant. I ran some tests to see what my clicks per second was with this and the X-Lite wireless for a comparison, and they both came out around about 6.8 clicks per second, and that was after around 5 goes with each mouse. Needless to say, I don't experience the issues that some others have. Having said that, I don't really play CSGO anymore or Valorant, which are probably the main games that I can think of from the top of my head that might need to do some spam clicking. The buttons themselves are completely fine and work as well as you'd expect. As mentioned previously, they don't hang over the sides of the mouse, which makes it a lot easier on those with what I call goblin grips. People who like to contort their fingers like a pretzel whilst holding a mouse and will post on Discord somewhere asking why they can no longer pick up a cup of tea at the age of 24. There will be no worry of them rubbing against your fingers that some other mice can. There is also with these pretty much zero pre or post travel at all, and they feel incredibly consistent. The side buttons here are fine, maybe a bit too small if I'm being picky. Despite this, they do their job and they respond well. The DPI button for this mouse is situated at the bottom of the mouse, just above the on-off switch. The scroll wheel is probably one of the best I have used in a while. It is almost perfect. The notches on this are really smooth yet prominent, so you feel almost every scroll with very little resistance. The click is very solid, but it is a bit loud. Despite this, this is probably one of the most consistent scroll wheels in total that I've ever seen. Definitely gets my seal of approval. For the dirt check, it does gather around the right and left side of the mouse, mainly for me. But what I love about this mouse is that there's hardly any gaps in the shell at all, apart from the ones around the main buttons. This means that there's less dirt build-up, and any that does can just be wiped off easily. I don't have to worry about digging the toothbrush out. For the feet, these are the industry norm of 100% virgin, like the olive oil grade PTFE. They have good coverage on the top and bottom and include a sensor ring also. These are nice and smooth, which will work great on pretty much all mouse pads. For the wireless section, now full disclosure at the start, I had to return the first one because it kept on skipping or disconnecting. I used the USB adapter to bridge the gap of the range between the dongle and the mouse, and basically every so often it would just dip out. There would be no disconnect noise or any visual identification that it switched off. It would just be like, peace, and that would be it, and it would just reconnect. So I returned it and got a new one, and I've had no problems at all. The other maybe minor problem is that the wake up time, which exists on both of the mice that I've had, and it takes around maybe 2 to 5 seconds for it to wake up from its slumber. I mean, it's not a big deal, but compared to some other mice where there is no wake up time, it's a bit hard to get used to sometimes. SteelSeries say that the mouse has 100 hours of battery life, which is pretty great in all honesty when you take into account the sensor, which I'll get onto later. However, they don't really go into detail on the battery life, if that's at full polling rate or or anything like that. If it is at full polling rate, then that's pretty decent. Honestly, because of the amount of time that I sit at my desk and using mice, it's kind of hard for me to really gauge how often I've had to charge it. But in the past month, I'd say maybe around about 3 times. The cable, when you have to plug it in, is a bit stiff. It's not a great cable, I'll be honest. It's rigid compared to some others. It's not really like the ultralight paracorded cables that I've seen with some other brands. For software, it's a bit terrible. I'm going to be very opinionated for this part, by the way. First, when you boot the software, you get some dumb splash page that just links to all their blog articles. You also have to turn off this moments trash, which is just another way of clipping stuff from in-game and sharing them. There's also a giveaway section. And I'm not joking, there is really a giveaway section. The engine is the part where you can do the normal stuff. This part was also a bit wonky on the first mouse that I had because my settings just wouldn't change at all. Now it's fine though and everything saves. You can do all the normal stuff that is required. There is a high performance mode that will extend the battery life by turning down the polling rate to 125 Hz. Maybe that is what leads into the 100-hour battery life that was quoted. But apart from that, there's just the normal bells and whistles that you'd expect from software. If the software was literally just this page, it would be absolutely perfect. It really would be, but it's not, so it sucks. The sensor is what SteelSeries call their TrueMove Air 2. It's their variant of the 3335 Pixart sensor, which is a more of a lower range sensor. For perspective, it is using the Razer Orochi V2 and some other more mid-range mice. So it's not a top performing sensor and there are better ones available. It's surprising that they went with something technically inferior for their flagship mouse. They've probably tweaked it a bit though, but it just doesn't look good when you compare it to other mice and the prices of those other mice that have better sensors. Despite the sensor though, in-game performance has been great. I really loved using this mouse. It's really comfortable to use despite its weightier weight. The comfort of the shape and coating have really made this great to use in-game. And honestly, even during the longer grinds, it's just been superb. The cost of this, well, it does sting. It's around about £130, $130 or 140 euros at full price, which puts it around the same level of the G Pro Superlight and the Roccat Cone Pro Air. And this mouse does technically have an inferior sensor to both of them and many others that are a lot cheaper than this. I guess that you do get some good quality around the mouse in terms of shape, buttons, switches and coating, but I don't know if SteelSeries are a brand that can justify that high price. So overall, this mouse is great. I think it's really good. I mean, it's almost perfect. If it had a better sensor to match the price or a lower price to match its sensor, then I think it would be an incredible mouse. It still has some awful software though, there's no excuse for that. This is really hard because this mouse is very impressive, but it falls at the last hurdle on getting a good price point, and I don't think it has a good price point. If this mouse was on sale for around maybe £90, then I would say yes, go for it, snap it up. So can I recommend it? Yes, I can. If you are on the lookout for a mouse, it might be worth keeping an eye on it to see if there's any deals or bargains going on and maybe get it at a reduced price. But I would honestly say that for the full price, so if you had the only option of buying it at the full price, it is not worth it. Do not go for it. Because there are other options that have far superior sensors that are either maybe cheaper or at the same price, and you're getting it from a pretty respectable product, for example like the Superlight. I think the prices may be decided based on the history of SteelSeries or what they think their value is worth. They used to be a high tier brand, and I feel like it's been ages since I've been excited about anything they've brought out, and it feels like they are still riding on their initial success and have struggled to keep up with the other big names. They really have to prove to me that they are a brand that I can trust to deliver high quality products and that they are worth the money that they are asking. It is a bit of a shame because honestly there could be a case where I put this mouse in the same league as the Superlight, but because it has an inferior sensor it just can't be compared. I guess the other downside that people have is that it's heavy. My personal opinion is that it's not. I think that it's probably almost at my personal limit of what a competitive mouse should be in terms of weight, but I think that considering the shape and the quality of the mouse, it's fine for it to be that way. Do I wish it was lighter? No, I don't. So that's all for this review. If you own one, let me know in the comments below and we'll have a little chit chat. Thank you very much for watching and I hope to see you in the next one.